It was on November 12, 1970, when the small coastal town of Florence, Oregon became the stage for what may be the most bizarre and explosive tale the Pacific Northwest has to offer.
We love our exploding whale story. Name is John Barnes, and I'm a volunteer here at the Siuslaw Pioneer Museum. So again, November 1970, this huge sperm whale washed up in the week. That happens every once in a while. A whale, for whatever reason, dies, and then the tide will sometimes roll the carcass up on the beach. But usually they're not so large that the next high tide doesn't pull them back out into the ocean again. This one was so big that it just laid there and started to rot, which meant it started to stink. And you could smell it here in town when there was a south wind, because the whale washed up on the beach just south of the mouth of the river. The town was going, you got to do something to get rid of that whale. And a lot of times they would. If the whales didn't wash out, then they would bring in heavy equipment and they would dig a big trench and then dump the carcass into the trench and then cover it up. But this whale was so big that they couldn't do that. I mean, it was just too large. But the whale's got to go. And I mean, it's nasty, it's stinky. And at that time, the Oregon Transportation Commission, it was called back then, they were in charge of managing the beaches. Now it's state parks, but back then it was the Highway Division. They came up with a plan working with their fellow that was in charge of mainly blowing up rocks to build highways. So he came in, he looked at it, and he said, yeah, we could do that. No problem. So, okay, how many sticks of dynamite do we need? Well, no, I'm not talking sticks of dynamite. I'm talking cases of dynamite. So they did. They drilled holes down in just like the guy would if he was blowing up a right-of-way for a highway. When they did that, then it really stunk. Oh, my God. People had to wear breathing apparatus when they were doing the work because it stunk so bad. Of course, the word was out all around town. They're actually going to blow up the whale. When? On the 12th of November. Oh, really? Okay. So there was a huge for Florence standards, but the whole town basically. There was me and three of my friends. We went to watch the whale blow up. And the beach, people could stand on top of the foredune, but they couldn't go any closer than that because the highway people said, that should be fine if they just stay up there on top. Everything will be fine. They want to watch this. Just like if we were on a highway construction site, when they hit the little thing that sets the dynamite up, they would start a countdown, but on the last, instead of going 3, 2, 1, it was a horn. And that way they're warning everybody that beep, beep, beep. So when she went, she really went, it was like a huge cloud that went up. And there was no wind that day. So then it kind of spread out, and then it rained. It rained mutilated whale yuck. That's what it was. And then chunks of blubber just went flying everywhere. People were running, screaming, oh my God, ah! We were in my buddy's car, and it took him several weeks of scrubbing and washing and trying all kinds of different things to get that film of goo off of his car. So I got home and walked through the front door of the house, and my mom immediately looked at me and she's going, "Whoa, where have you been?" I said, "Oh, we went down and watched them blow up that whale. I need to get this shirt off and wash this shirt." She goes, "No, you're not. No, you're not. You're putting that shirt in a garbage bag and putting it in the garbage. I'm not putting that in my washing machine. So I lost a shirt and a hat. I threw the hat away too that I was wearing. Another large sperm whale, wasn't as large as the one here. It washed up north on the beach. So now state parks manages the beaches. And so they were having a discussion about, what do we do with the whale? Because they studied it first. The whale here, we just said, yep, it's dead and it stinks. But the one up there, they wanted to know why it had died. And it had been injured, it looked like by a ship that ran over the top of it and cut a big hole in his back. So if the tide doesn't finally take care of it, then we'll have to figure out some way to bury it. Whoa, it's awful big. Well, yeah. But you know what? One thing we're not going to do, we're not going to blow it up. Yeah, so lessons learned.